vet, Enzo.com, vet, Enzo.com, vet, Enzo.com, vet, Enzo.com.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 21 of the Bobby Pickles podcast. Podcasting from Hungarian Pastry Shop on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I'm Bobby Pickles. With me today is Leesa Dean. Leesa is a writer and animator. Her underground comic book, Chilltown, has been featured in Spin Magazine, Vibe Magazine, The Source, newspapers, radio. She has sold television scripts to major production companies, and over the last several years has honed her animation skills and fully developed 3 animated series: Chilltown, The Danger Squad, and Lele's Ratchet Advice Show. A Bronx native with a BFA, I am so happy to have Miss Leesa Dean with me today as we podcast from this Columbia University outpost, the historic, dimly lit, cozy ambience of Hungarian Pastry Shop. Ladies and gentlemen, hip-hop heads and punk rockers alike, welcome to the Bobby Pickles podcast.
Bobby Pickles podcast. He always says, "That's me." With a look on his face, he'll talk about anything. Tattoos, t-shirts, politics, history, and hot sauce on everything. Bobby Pickles. Pop culture, documentaries, conspiracy theories, sarcasm, and beer. It's a conversation, start listening, cause we're all here. Bobby Pickles podcast.
That's me! All right, so here we are. A couple of creative types. We're both writers. We're both apparently consumed by illustration in some form of another. Our setting, Hungarian Pastry Shop,
Yes.
a staple of the Morningside Heights community.
Yes.
You know, for 50 plus years, this Upper West Side institution's been known for its bohemian crowd of students, professors, and a few notable authors. I always ask my guests to meet me somewhere that is either iconic or important to them in some way. So, Miss Leesa Dean, why here? Why are we meeting at Hungarian Pastry Shop?
This is the place I was at many years ago when I decided to actually create Chilltown. I came up with the idea of actually doing it as an animated series here. I was sitting with a friend.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, so, like I was telling you, you know, and I did some research for this prior to, obviously, whatever. I'd never been here before, but evidently this has been here a long time,
Oh, yeah,
like
for
50
sure.
plus years.
Yeah.
And writers used to frequent this place and
Right.
everything.
Right.
So is that kind of creativity, I guess, kind of resonates with you and stuff, like this whole setting?
I love places like this, and I happen to live in the area, so this is my go-to spot. I love this space.
How did you start animating? Like, what made you want to get into that?
I'm basically a writer. I'd sold a number of series to networks and to production companies and stuff, and I never had anything go into production, much less get on the air. And so it was an incredibly frustrating experience creatively. I really wanted to see my stuff happen. And so Chilltown, which is my first show, my biggest show, I had actually sold that to a network. They never put it on the air, as per usual. And ultimately the rights reverted back to me.
So
And
none of this stuff has ever been put on the air?
No,
All these things that
nothing.
you've written and stuff?
Nothing.
That's very frustrating, right?
It's very frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. And so, I mean, it paid the bills more or less, but it was frustrating. And so, essentially, I saw what was going on with the internet, and I decided to do it myself. I didn't have a budget to hire an animation company because animation is ridiculously expensive to do. So I decided to teach myself, and it was a arduous and crazy thing to do, definitely, but it was an arduous process.
How do you do it? You do it with computers and stuff, obviously, right?
Kind of. I do it like I hand draw everything. What I end up doing is I kind of hand draw characters, I scan them in, and I animate them just using computers, but actually by hand on using software.
Really?
I actually downloaded a bunch of tutorials from a couple of websites that essentially had tutorials for like $10 a piece, taught you how to do certain things, and that's how I learned how to do it. It was pretty crazy.
You've been going strong for a little while here, right? I mean, I saw like some stuff from like 1998.
Right. Well, that's when I essentially kind of started, and that's when I actually did the comic book. I actually did the Chilltown comic book then, and a number of years later, I ended up selling it as a television series, and then about 6.5 years ago, the rights reverted back to me.
What do you mean the rights reverted back to you? What does that mean?
It means I sold it. When you sell a show to a company, or to a television network specifically, they get all the rights, meaning they have the right to do whatever they'd like with it, to put it on the air, to exploit it, with merchandising, to do whatever they want. So when the rights revert back to me, it means that they can't do any of that. So now my show is on the internet. They can't just wake up one day and say, maybe we'll just make some T-shirts and do that. Or they can't just, they can't do anything. So it's the rights to kind of license it or do whatever they'd like with it. That's what it means.
Yeah, so you got the rights back, right?
Yeah.
And that's when you decided to make a comic book out of it? Or this
No,
is first?
I did the comic book a long time ago, like roughly around 1998, the comic book came out. And I was really lucky it won a Zarek Award. Zarek is like a big foundation that gives out awards for indie comic books. And so I won a Zarek Award, which is a really cool thing. And then, like I said, a few years after that, I sold it. A number of years after it, actually, I sold it to a network. And I was in quote-unquote development for 3 years there. This was a really long time.
Yeah.
And so...
And then you're just like pulling your hair out. What the heck?
I know, I was. And part of the thing is when I animated it and after I taught myself to animate, one of the best things about it was it was incredibly gratifying that once I kind of figured out how to do it, every single day I would do a scene, I would do something, and I would be able to see my work versus kind of, being in paralysis for such a long time and, having a show kind of not exactly go no place, but not being able to see the fruits of your
labor, right?
Yeah, okay.
So you got some interesting people to be a part of this, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me about some of those people, some of the voice-over actors that you have working for you?
Well, first of all, I got a couple of guys who had been on Dave Chappelle's show, which is a really big deal, and I was incredibly lucky to get them. One of them was a guy named Dante Nero. He's really funny. He's also worked with Patrice O'Neill, the comedian. And
the late comedian, right?
Yeah, the late comedian, the dead comedian.
Yeah. That's sad.
Although, versus late.
We were actually making fun of, at the roast, I can't remember whose roast it was, but they were making jokes about him, like he's going to die, he's got diabetes.
He died
and then
right
he died
after.
within like a month.
He did, he did.
Really crazy.
Yeah, he's a great comedian. He really was.
By the way, that's the voice of my illustrious photographer, Adrien De Martini. He might be popping in here and there in the conversation. Anyway.
And so, at any rate, he had a show with Patrice called The Black Phillip Show, which was this kind of cult show that Opie and Anthony had on, and it was kind of like a parody of the Dr. Phil show, and that because Patrice is black, they called it the Black Phillip Show, and they gave advice, like love advice, more or less from the perspective of a pimp. And so Dante has, he's not an actual pimp, but he has, like, I guess a pimp persona, kind of.
He has a nice pimp voice.
I shouldn't be giving away his trade secrets that he's not really a pimp, and so, and so it was really, really funny. And actually, now that Patrice is dead, Dante has carried on the torch of pimp advice giving by having his own show called The Beige Phillip Show, because he's light-skinned, so versus being Black Phillip, he's, it's The Beige Phillip Show. He's got a big podcast called that. And so,
he does?
Yeah, he does. And so I'm actually going to be on that podcast.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so, with the opposite point of view, the non-pimp, representing for the non-pimps. And so,
so now who else did you get on there? You have some other people as well?
Yes, I had some other people as well. A guy named Victor Cruz, who's a really, really brilliant actor. He's in House of Cards right now, and he's in the...
What's his character in House of Cards? I've watched every episode of that.
You have? I don't remember
Victor
the name
Cruz.
of it. He's kind of short. He's Puerto Rican. He's got red hair. He played, I think he told me, because I've never seen House of Cards. Mm-hmm. I forget the character's name. I think he works in a bar or something, or he's a barkeeper or something like that.
I think I know the character you're talking about, yeah. That show's fantastic.
Yeah. And see, he's also in Steven Soderbergh's Bitter Pill.
Oh, okay.
And he's like one of these guys, you see him all the time on Law & Order, and, he's one of those kind of people. Plus, he's also a really, really funny comedian, and he had his own show on Urban Latino Network. It was really, really funny. One of my favorite things that he did on that kind of sold me on him was he did a prank phone call. I love prank phone calls, and I love pranks. And so he did a prank phone call where he calls up, he does even though he's a guy, he does really good female voices, and he called up like he was this lady, and And he called up to Ricky's beauty shop around Halloween, and he said that his daughter wanted a SpongeBob outfit. Well, you don't have a SpongeBob outfit, and you have to come down to the store. No, we can't. We're in the Bronx. I mean, what bus do we take? And then somebody else on the show was playing his daughter. No, mommy, I told you I want to be, what's her name from Twilight? I want to be Bella. And then they have like a fight on the phone, and the lady in the store is like, look, maybe you should come down. I'm telling her she can't be Bella, and plus she's 30 years old.
So that's some straight up jerky boys stuff.
Oh, for sure. He plays the lead character in the show. He does great voices.
Now, is that the lead character? That's the guy who's
G.
That's G?
Yeah.
That's the lead character?
Yeah, it's G.
Because I thought the lead character would be the guy who goes out with the girl, Lele.
Well, no, actually he's
because
not.
He has a pretty hefty part of it,
He does,
too.
and that's Will Savintz. Will Savintz he's a guy who's also on the Chappelle Show, and he, not a total name comedian, but he opens for the Wayans brothers. He's constantly flying all over the place. He opens for Cat Williams, and also is his bail bondsman, by the way. And so,
what? How'd you get into meeting all these comedians?
The way I got into it is I'm
just looking for people to do voiceovers.
I'm a funny writer, and I did a pilot about 7 years ago. And this was like right around the time that my series, the rights reverted back to me, like 6.5, 7 years ago. And Richie Bulldog, who is another one of the characters I'll talk about in a minute, we hired him to do the show. He was great. And we got him just through a friend of a friend, and he knew a million comedians. And so I got Dante, and once I got Dante was so known that a lot of people came aboard. So Will Savintz, I contacted Will Savintz just from MySpace when MySpace was big. This was like about 5.5 years ago when I was casting it and everything, or thinking about casting it. And so
is this a normal thing, though, where it takes this long to get something going, like
No.
5 years?
No, not at all. I mean, it took me a long time because I taught myself how to animate. So, there's an enormous learning curve. And plus, it probably would have taken me about 3.5 years. But in the middle of it, my mom got really sick and ended up dying. And so I stopped what I was doing, like right in the middle of it, to help her. And then after she died, I had to take care of, I had to handle a lot of stuff. And
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Absolutely.
I couldn't get back to work. So it probably would have taken me about 3.5 years, but I completed 140 minutes of animation, so it was like an enormous amount of work to do. And it was important to me to have the animation be, good quality. I knew it wasn't going to be like perfect quality because that would have taken me probably till infinity to finish it. So, but
where are you at right now within this production phase or whatever? It's done, right?
It's done. It's already online.
It's online.
It's
and
online.
Then, so are you looking to pitch it to any in particular like networks or anything? Try to get traditional TV?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I'm hoping to down the line. My game plan right now, and which kind of changes on a day-to-day basis, I'm kind of just going with the flow a little bit, is essentially to just have the show out there for a while, try and get as many views as I can, try and just get word of mouth. I'm promoting it myself, guerrilla style, and essentially trying to kind of promote it like an underground record in a way, just reaching out to people and almost like one by one. And ultimately, sometime in the fall, I'm re-releasing it. I'm re-releasing it in a special way with a lot of celebrities involved. Hopefully, it looks like it probably will be that way. And so that's going to actually be the big formal launch of it. And then hopefully I'll be able to get some networks interested. One thing that I really didn't count on after I launched this a few months ago, it was how many billions of shows there are out there. They're literally, I just couldn't believe it.
So how would you classify the show? Would you say obviously, I'm sorry, I have to name drop South Park or whatever.
Right, that's okay.
I'm sure you hear that a lot though, because there's there's not that many cartoons where you curse and everything like that.
Right. I hear South Park. I hear Adult Swim more often.
Adult Swim.
Yeah, totally.
But that mixed with the urban.
Right. And there isn't really anything
that. Can you classify it for us? Give your little elevator speech.
Yeah,
tell me exactly what it is.
I just say it's a scathing, animated, wild hip-hop comedy series.
Now, Leesa, how did you get into this? Okay, I thought that I was going to be meeting a black woman.
I'm actually half black, and I'm half Jewish and half black.
You are?
Yes, I am.
That is so awesome. The spelling, I wanted to ask you the spelling of your name, Leesa, as well. That's untraditional, right?
It is untraditional.
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Well, my parents were from a really special tribe of people in the Bronx. No.
I like that.
No, I changed the spelling of my name.
You did?
I did only because I had joined a union, and there was already somebody else with the name Leesa Dean, which is my name. And can I curse?
Sure.
Yeah, this bitch took my name.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's stupid, bitch.
She took
God
my name.
damn her.
And you're not allowed to have two people with the same name. And I didn't want to.
Are you serious? Why? That's crazy.
They think people will get confused because I guess they assume people with the same name will like all look exactly alike. I have absolutely no idea. And at any rate, so.
So you seem like you're like really good at like. One thing you got to do, right? You got to pitch to all these production companies.
Yes.
You need a one sheet, right?
Yeah.
I've only started recently hearing about this one
Right.
sheet that everybody asks for all
Right.
the time. Can you teach me to write a good one sheet?
Yeah, you just have to, basically the first thing you got to do is go out and buy a bottle of wine. You're gonna need it, or scotch, whatever, whatever
Now-
your preference.
As a writer,
Yeah.
I know we're having fun here and stuff,
Yeah.
but do you, you use some alcohol? Maybe helps out the
Not
creative
really.
process.
No, not really. No,
No.
I sadly, I wish I could
Like
say
a Hemingway
yes.
sort of.
I wish I could say yes. I wish I could say yes, but sadly, I'm pretty much a lightweight when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I usually only drink after I finish writing. Because otherwise I would just like fall out. I'm just too much
What
of
about
a-
marijuana?
No, not really. I used to smoke weed, but I stopped by the time I was 13, and
What?
Started early.
Oh my God, we should maybe back up
I
and
grew
go
up
over
in
your
the
life.
Bronx. And
Where,
so
what section were you born in?
I was born in, I guess
The Belmont section? No.
No.
Okay.
I guess it was called. It's called now the South Bronx.
Okay.
But yes, I was born on 169th Street and Sheridan Avenue, right off
And
the concourse.
that's close to the stadium, right?
It is. It's right near Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. And ironically, I've only been there once.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? I went to the
Or
Yankee.
non-ironically.
I actually went to the Yankee game yesterday, and they,
Really?
and somebody was saying how all the people that live around the neighborhood, I was like, how can you be, if you're from the Bronx, you're a Yankee fan? There's no way.
Right,
There's no
right.
ifs, ands, or buts about it, right?
No, I'm not a Yankee. I don't
You're-
know. I don't really know very much about baseball.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Well, this guy was saying that it kind of like interferes with their day to day, because it's so close by.
the cheering. Or no.
Well, yeah, like going to the store or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, or
Yeah.
so much traffic.
Oh yeah. Well.
And people kind of get irritated with it.
Well, I lived there only until I was 8 years old.
Okay, and then
we
where'd
moved
you go?
We moved to Kingsbridge, or the Kingsbridge section of the Bronx.
Okay.
And
Kingsbridge.
So, yeah, it was away from the stadium.
Isn't that where, what's his name from? That rapper? Or is that Queensbridge?
It is. No.
Queensboro.
It is.
Wait,
But actually,
I'm sure there's plenty of rappers
the
from Kingsboro.
Who am I thinking about?
The ill-fated.
I should be asking you. Why am I asking Martini?
Yeah.
You're the hip hop.
It's that's expert, not well, maybe not, but expert. But I am a hip hop head. The ill-fated dead rapper, Scott LaRock, who worked with not the rapper, the
Producer.
DJ, yeah, producer DJ Scott LaRock.
That's the one guy who killed himself, right?
I don't think
There was
he killed
somebody
himself.
that did.
Yeah,
There's like a
he worked with KRS-One.
Okay.
And I think he was shot, and he actually was from there, and he actually died right around there.
Yeah, there was a producer or something from like last year, not too long
Oh no,
ago.
this was a long time
Oh, it
ago.
was?
Yeah, this was like going back old school hip hop, really, really old school hip hop.
How did you get into it? You say you're a hip hop head.
Yeah,
Just like ever since that's it. You grew up with it.
I
and
grew
you
up with it, so it was
embodied
kind of
it?
Yeah, I grew up with it. I mean, I pretty much like the types of music I like are either really hardcore or hardcore rock and roll, hardcore.
Like, what do you mean
headbangers.
hardcore?
Like
Punk rock?
Yeah, I like some punk rock.
You do? Like,
Yeah,
what
I
kind of
do.
punk rock? That's
Well,
my favorite.
Really? Well, I guess they're punk rock, like the Butthole Surfers.
Oh my God! Wow, I haven't heard about the Butthole Surfers in forever.
Yeah, Bobby here's a big No FX fan.
Yeah, I like No
Oh, really?
Effects.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Pennywise, Rancid, all
Right.
that stuff.
Right. Yeah. I like that kind of stuff, and I also like mainly anything that's acoustic, and so I like and hip hop in a way kind of falls in the middle of that, and I like a lot of that. I don't.
They started
happen
like
to-
around the same time area, kind
Right,
of.
right. Like I mean, the era that I really like the best is like from the '90s and that kind of stuff.
So, like,
most
I assume you're
creative.
probably a huge Tribe Called Quest fan.
I am a huge Tribe
Yeah,
Called
me
Quest.
too.
Yeah.
Because they're New Yorkers. And,
Right. That's the kind of hip hop that
And
I
it
really
almost
like.
is like an acoustic hip hop. I mean,
It
because
is.
they actually played instruments. They
It
used
is.
instruments. They sampled
is.
stuff, but
It
you know,
is.
it's not so much just like somebody on a synthesizer just making all these stupid beats. And
It is. I really like that kind of stuff. I don't like what would be called like commercial rap, like people like Lil Wayne or that kind of stuff. I just really don't. It's not for me. In fact, I never listen to the radio ever. So, it's I just never do. So
God, Little Wayne's getting crazy with the scissor. You know what that is?
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
I have to ask you, did you see the Michael Rappaport documentary, Life Beats and Rhymes, I think that's what it was called?
No, I didn't.
About Tribe Called Quest?
I didn't.
It's
But
basically- it was like
I've
his-
heard about it. I really want to see it. I've heard about it. But
It was
I
like
didn't
his
see it.
last gasp effort to get
Back in the-
Phife Dawg and Q-Tip back together. But
Right.
They're like, but they grew up together. They knew each other basically since
Right.
birth.
Oh wait, I saw that. Yeah, I did. I saw that too. Yeah.
I think one of the best songs of all time is Bonita Applebum. Yeah, it's just it's ridiculously funky. It's ironic. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's great. I love stuff like that. I love stuff that has a flow that makes you think. I like also jazz, but I hate like fusion jazz, like I don't even know, like smooth jazz, that kind
Or
of
the
stuff.
weird like instrumental shit.
Oh, right. Ooh,
Yeah.
so
No,
that's
it's
kind of like
annoying.
elevator music. I like John Coltrane and more things that are more like authentic music. That's what I kind of like. And so it was a natural for me. And growing up in the Bronx, around the time period I was growing up in, I remember being a little kid and my dad coming in the house and saying, "There's a kid outside spitting on his head out on the street." So I grew up immersed in, it was like growing up almost like inside of a painting, because going to school, even though I lived in the Bronx, I took the subway to go to school in Manhattan. All the subways were completely covered with graffiti, and so it completely had an effect on me aesthetically. Totally. So
You totally grew up in the era where everything started to transform into that. The whole
Right.
hip-hop culture, graffiti.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Jean Basquiat and all that.
that
That
exactly.
entire scene.
Jean-Michel Basquiat, yeah. And in fact, as an artist, his influences were exactly what my influences were, which is Jean Dubuffet. And when I used to draw as a kid, I loved Jean Dubuffet, and also being informed by graffiti, because just seeing all of that, and graffiti was informed in a way by some of that, but also by comic books, which of course I also love. And so I
Oh
like
yeah,
that
let's
kind
talk
of
about that. Let's talk about
Okay.
comic books.
stuff. Okay.
So
What
yeah,
do you
you've
wanna talk
always
about?
loved comic books. You've been
Well, yes, kind of. I am not a superhero person, so although I do love going to Comic-Con.
oh yeah.
I love
Are you more of an
going to-
American Splendor kind of person?
Yes, I'm a Fantagraphics girl. I love American Splendor. I love Harvey Pekar. I love Dan Klaus. I love Hate, Peter Bagg, Love and Rockets, Bros Hermanos, and I like
Anything
Vertigo-
non-mainstream.
non-mainstream.
Anything, music,
Yeah.
anything,
Anything
whatever it is.
non-mainstream,
If
yeah.
it's non-mainstream. So this is
Non-mainstream.
the perfect avenue for you,
Yes,
right?
it is. Yeah.
Self-publishing, podcasting,
Right.
all
Guerrilla
these things.
style promotion.
Guerrilla style.
Yeah.
Well, everything's going to guerrilla style, really, right?
Kind of.
Well, that's the whole thing with the internet. It allows you to just like flood these different things and go out in these different.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's so awesome.
I
It's so
think it's awesome.
liberating,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's awesome in so many ways, but it's also the hardest thing I've ever done in my
Well, because
life.
everybody's feeling like, they're trying to figure it out now. Like, how do you penetrate? How do you get through to
Exactly.
people?
Exactly.
And it's just like,
It's
it's
tough.
awesome, though.
It's-
It's like the Wild Wild West.
It's tough though. It's really, really tough. It's very, very tough to penetrate that kind of stuff. That's what I've been finding. But it's
But you got some good people behind you and involved in this and
I
everything.
do. I'm really lucky. I want to talk a little bit about Richie Bulldog.
Let's do it.
Before we started, we talked a little bit about
Let's
him.
talk about
and
Richie
just talk
Bulldog.
about counterculture stuff. Richie Bulldog is another one of the guys who's an actor on the series. He plays Plaid. He plays the kid with long blonde dreads.
Yeah.
The white kid
What's
on
the deal
show.
with that? Is that what that is? He's white and he has
Yeah, he's
dreads?
white. Yeah.
Oh,
he's white.
okay.
Yeah, he's white.
All right.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Why
his
does he
hand-
have it all in his face and everything? You never see his
He
face.
has it in his face because I used to be, and I still am to some degree, a shy person. And when I was really young, I always had my hair not completely, not like that, where you can't see his face. So otherwise, I'd just totally be bumping into doors and stuff. But I used to be shy, and so I wanted that to be an element of his personality, and I thought that it was kind of a cool thing. And it's kind of like Marvin the Martian from Looney Tunes, and in fact, in the comic book, he was drawn like that. And then when I started to animate him, I was like, how in the world am I going to animate him if he's just like Dreads? And so I actually took Marvin the Martian, and so the inside of him is just like an abyss. So it's all dark. You never see his features except for his mouth. And so Richie Bulldog is the guy who plays him. And Richie Bulldog is a guy I've worked with. He did a pilot for me. He's a really funny stand-up comedian. And he also happens to be involved very heavily in the world of tattoos. He's covered from, I guess, his neck, or maybe even higher than that, I don't know, all the way down to his toes, I'm assuming. I've seen him in shorts, and there are tattoos all over his calves, and I'm assuming his feet. I don't know, all over the place. And he's like an MC at tattoo conventions, and so he's kind of like a tastemaker for tattoos. He knows every tattoo artist like in the world for the most part. He's interviewed them because he also does camera work, so he's gone and done a lot of interviews with them. And he does this MC stuff, and plus he sells something called Hustle Butter, which is like this salve that you put on when you get tats and stuff. So he's kind of interesting character, but he's also very funny. He's very, very funny. And when we recorded his voiceovers, he lived in Florida, and so he actually is kind of similar in certain ways to the character he plays. I didn't even realize it, when I got him to do it. So he's kind of like got this hustle thing. I mean, not like a sleazy hustler, but he's always like, I could do this, I could put you on with this, I could do this. And so he tells me that, he says, no problem. He really wanted to do the show. He says, no problem. I didn't have the budget to fly him up to New York or anything. And so he says, I can record the whole thing on my camera. We tried it. Some reason it didn't work out. He says, don't worry about it. I have a friend, and his name is Boogie Waters, and Boogie Waters has a studio, and we could go into Boogie Waters' studio and do it. I said, awesome, that's great, let's do it. He said, okay, there's a little bit of a catch. And I was like, what's the catch? He happens to be in jail right now. So it turned out he wasn't in jail. It was just like a traffic violation. He was there for like one night, but Richie Bulldog got into this whole thing like on Facebook, like free Boogie Waters. And like the whole thing. Yeah, so anyway, like a couple of days later, Boogie Waters is back. He's freed from the joint. And so he's recording there, and I'm directing him over the phone. And I happen to have a neighbor in my building who's like a psycho. I think she's a psycho. She only is like around like 1 week out of the month. And she practices the piano. She practices classical music like 11 hours a day, but she practices like the same song over and over and over again, like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. It's like
wow.
So bad, and she never gets better. It's just so awful. And we were recording voiceovers, and she starts practicing in the middle of it. And so we had this time where we can't like just reschedule. So Richie Bulldog, it bleeds in. Cat on the piano, cat on the piano, cat on the piano. But,
What did you do? Did you go over there and tell her to stop?
I did.
And did she stop?
No, she didn't. And so
Really?
Yeah, no, she didn't. She was crazy and evil.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm trying to record something.
I started thinking really terrible thoughts about her. I started thinking I'd like to like give her like a Christmas present of like mittens with crazy glue inside.
Yeah.
Just be like, her hands would be like big whack paddle hands. She could never
go
play.
Go in whenever she's not home and just detune her entire piano.
Drive her insane. Just do only one string, and you're like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? But then I'd have to listen to it.
Exactly.
So the joke would be on me.
So what other projects do you have in the works? It's not just Chilltown, right?
Right. It's not just
some
Chilltown.
other thing.
I have, first of all, Chilltown. I should just say, just so that people know, Chilltown is pretty much, it's an animated hip-hop comedy. It's kind of like a day in the life of three guys who are hip-hop heads, and it's a bit surreal. Crazy things happen to them. It happens in and around the music business for the most part, and so that's kind of what Chilltown is. One of the characters on Chilltown, there are these three characters, and then there are they're called G.
The
Marvin.
couple.
Yeah.
Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah, well, the couple. There's G. Marvin Platt, and then there's a couple, and the couple is Cadus and Lele. And so Cadus is G's cousin, and he's kind of like a wannabe mogul in the business. And he's one of these guys who never can get into clubs. He's always like bouncers are always turning him away. He never gets a break. So one of the things that's already been aired is he gets an internship at the worst rap label there is. Working for a guy who's a total psycho and stuff. And so Cadus's girlfriend is a woman named Lele, and she's really bossy and she's really judgmental, and I figured, what better person than to have like a sex and dating advice show? Somebody who's like bossy and judgmental, like the last person on planet Earth you ever want to give you any type of advice ever. And so I started another show called Lele's Ratchet Advice Show, with featuring Lele, and I play Lele. And
oh, you do?
Yes, I do. I know, and my voice doesn't sound anything like her. I don't digitally alter my voice. It's a character. So, say, hey, this is Lele. And so that's my voice. And in fact, I've done a lot of interviews with people who are really disappointed that they're not speaking to Lele. Like, they don't understand that it's a cartoon character. It's really crazy. So,
wow.
Whatever. And so...
Chilltown, does it all take place mainly in the Bronx, or just all over?
No, Chilltown is actually a slang word for Jersey City.
Oh, which is where I live.
Really?
Yeah.
No, well, now you know. You live in Chilltown.
I didn't know that. That's a really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a well-known thing, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Is it like up the hill in Jersey City? Like
I don't know.
More into the ghetto?
No, not really. Maybe, but not really. Everybody calls Chilltown Jersey City.
That's so funny. I never knew that.
Wow, I didn't know that either. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where it's supposed to be taking place.
Yes.
Jersey City.
Yes, and I want
it all comes around.
Yeah, it all comes down to Jersey City. I wanted it to be in Jersey City.
Jersey City's a good spot.
Yeah, because it's got a good mix ethnically, it's got and economically, and in terms of the architecture, you have blocks with their brownstones and then buildings, and so I wanted to have that kind of diversity in it because that's really reflective of hip hop culture. And what I didn't really want to. I didn't want to do a show that was about thug culture, which a lot of things, most things that you see about hip hop culture, have guns and are just about a certain kind, like a part of thug culture, which I'm not interested in portraying or experiencing. So.
It's like the quintessential like hip hop culture, like all the things, right? Breakdancing, DJing, right? All the things that encompass it.
Right. Right.
But also the comedy of it and how people try and get into it. And there's so many people that think that they're going to be the next big thing.
For sure.
And a lot of them are just kind of jokes and yokels.
Oh, for sure.
And they're just trying to get out of the place that they were born and bred, right? And they want to.
Total posers, and
and that's definitely like Lele's man is that guy.
Cadus, yeah. And so she's got her show. It's called Lele's Ratchet Advice Show. And so on the show, she'll go online, she'll go out on dates, or she'll go on dates with people she meets online. I actually posted a profile of her on OkCupid. And
yeah,
and it was really pretty crazy.
You got some replies?
Of course, I got replies. I put like
God, man.
Picture.
Men will bang anything.
That's totally. I mean, listen. This is
bang a cartoon character.
It's so crazy. Yeah, I had it up for 10 minutes. I had 5 guys in 10 minutes. I put like the craziest stuff on there. Like the 6 things she liked the most are twerking, papaya.
Papaya?
Yeah, just I made up like crazy things. I don't even remember what happened. I mean, they were just really crazy. It had nothing to do with one another. And
they didn't have anything to do with like the real character on the show?
No. I mean, no, not even really.
Basically, just put random shit on there.
Random shit, and I said, what do you do? I'm a character on a web series, and why should I get to know you? Oh no, you should get to know me if you're interested in dating a cartoon character and have a paying job.
And have a job.
And so
that fits the character, the job thing.
And people respond.
And I had 5 guys write me, and one guy kept asking me out on a date. Look, can we go out on a date? I'm like, no. And so he said, why? And I said, I can't date you because I'm a cartoon character. And so he said, come on, well, maybe in like a couple of weeks. And so, and I said, I can't date you because I don't exist. And so, and he couldn't like handle it. I don't think he understood what that meant. And then I just like took the profile down, and that was it. And it was just. Anyway, she goes out on dates with guys who are, like
She answers questions like
Right, she
Dr.
does.
Drew.
Dr. Drew.
Like Dr. Drew.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Drew. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
She's probably more the Adam Carolla character, though.
She is. Yeah, she is. See, I have a lot of questions. People have written in a lot of really crazy things. I mean, the truth is I make up some of the letters. I definitely make up some of them. But people have written really seamy stuff. I mean, crazy stuff. I had a guy write in about how he liked to have sex with, like, dead chickens. And it was like...
What?
Yeah.
Wait a second now.
Not a live
Interspecies erotica.
Right.
Real. These are some of them are real questions that are coming
I don't
to you.
think so.
Oh.
I think they're real questions that people are sending in these questions. However, I'm hoping against hope that they're not real scenarios.
Wait a second.
Number one, TMI. Number two, ew. And so...
Wait,
Really?
but what I'm saying is you encourage people that are viewers
to
write in questions.
Yeah, anybody can write in a question. And I think, and first I started getting some questions, but people, I think are shy in a public kind of place like YouTube to put an actual sex question in the comic because, they don't want people to know, exactly the level of crazy perv they are. So,
We all try and keep that secret.
exactly. Exactly. So, so she answers questions, and she also goes out on dates with people, and she writes about it. Or it's like, I'm working on a show right now where it's breaking the code. The code. People write one thing, and it really means something else, that kind of thing. And kind of in a funny way, sadly based on, my own observations and sad experience.
Where do you get your humor from? Because I feel like the humor that you have it's kind of like male humor.
It is very male humor. I don't know
how
why
did you
that
get
is.
that kind of male humor?
I have no idea because, like, the way I write and my sense of humor is very much kind of like the sensibility of like a teenage boy. For sure, it is. And I don't know why that is, but it's just the way it is. And I've always been that way. I've always had that kind of sense of humor and sensibility. But in truth, I'm kind of like a girly girl. Not a total girly girl, but I am pretty much a girly girl. I mean, I have nail polish. And so I'm not like that in real life, except my sense of humor is. That's really what my sense. I from the time I was a little kid, I always had that sense of humor.
Are you sarcastic?
I am.
Almost every comedian's sarcastic.
Yeah,
I love sarcasm.
Yeah, I like it too.
Don't you get annoyed and frustrated by people that don't like sarcasm?
Well, I get annoyed by people who are politically correct, just to begin with. It's just so stupid.
I get annoyed by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like political correctness. I think that it's bullshit, basically. And I think most people who attempt to be politically correct are usually hiding something that, hiding whether they're racist or homophobic or whatever they are,
Yeah.
So,
I think that people that can't make jokes about things, like things that are
Right.
taboo or whatever, like...
I agree.
They're, like you said, they're hiding something.
I agree. I agree with that. I don't take myself very seriously as a person, and I pretty much respond to people who don't take themselves very seriously. I think people who take themselves really seriously are just like enormous, huge drags to me. They're just like, oh my god, I am, and
They're just no fun to be around.
No, they're not. They're not. So you have to be able to make fun of yourself, and so being politically incorrect is a part of that, I think.
Yeah. So since 1998, you've been working on this in one form or another, right? That's
Yeah,
a
for sure.
long time.
Yes, it is.
1998.
It is.
Now, bring me through it, okay? So what came first? The Chilltown stuff or the writing for the networks?
Oh, well, writing. I definitely did.
That was
some
before
writing.
1998. You were writing.
Yeah, I definitely. Before
What's
that, I
are
was
you an
writing.
English major? I mean, you have the BF. You have a bachelor's
I was a
in
music major.
You have a music major.
Yeah, I was a music major.
But you've always been into writing and stuff.
I've always been into writing my entire life. Both my parents were. My mom
And drawing as well.
Well, no, I drew when I was a kid. I didn't draw anything until I started doing Chilltown, which is really crazy.
It is crazy.
I know it is.
And
Crazy.
and you remind me of myself, to be honest with you.
Really? In what
Yeah.
sense?
Well, because number one, I'm a writer and
Okay.
I have a degree in English, right?
Uh-huh.
So I've always had that kind of writing mind.
Uh-huh.
But when I started my T-shirt company, which me and Martini are a part of, we make T-shirts.
Okay.
When I started it, I didn't know how to do any graphic design. I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to screen print or anything like that. And then I learned it as I went.
Oh, wow.
So it's the same kind of thing, you know,
that's-
where you have the idea first,
Right.
and then you start kind of shoot and aim later.
I think that's part of like anybody that's in any kind of creative field though. You start with one thing and then you slowly work yourself. Like I'm a photographer, that's what I went to school for. But then slowly work my way into like doing this T-shirt thing and
Right.
you just. I mean, but it's all these different mediums. But if it's some kind of art, you just kind of get into it, you know. And you.
I don't know. Drawing. I mean, that's like
Well,
a.
for me,
I
what
mean, drawing is.
my story is that I always drew as a kid, and I drew, up through middle school and stuff, and I was pretty good at it. And then I kind of moved into music, and I did music, and in fact, I played in bands and did stuff like that. And then I, for the most part, became a writer. And after, when I did the comic book, I did not draw it. I hired somebody to draw it. I hired a guy named Chuck Frazier who had actually done stuff for Marvel and DC because I felt insecure. I didn't feel that I was good enough to do it. And so, when I was kind of faced with animating it, I knew I couldn't hire it. I just didn't have the budget for it. So what I did was essentially just spend a year just practicing drawing. And I got books on Looney Tunes, and I just kind of practiced, and I retaught myself how to draw. I re-tricked my eye. In fact, Chuck told me, drawing is basically just tricking your eye in a certain kind of way. If you start looking at things a certain way, then you can see exactly how they're drawn and you can execute it. So it's like a trick. It's just like, like most of the time, like we're sitting here right now in a place. What we're looking at, we're not looking at, we look at the walls, we're seeing stuff on the walls, we're seeing, that one part is reddish and one part is, whitish, and there are lights and stuff. But I'm looking at it, I'm seeing all the shadows because I'm forcing myself to see them. Normally, I wouldn't even notice them because I'm just kind of looking and just, it's too much information to process because you're not really that interested in it. So your brain doesn't necessarily process it unless you tell it to. But when you tell it to and you look at it, then you see all of the shadows. And when you see those shadows, you can actually draw them because it's just copying exactly what you saw. So that's kind of what it is. So when I started drawing Chilltown, I also was armed with turnaround sheets. For the turnaround sheets are kind of characters that are drawn and facing forward, sideways, three-quarter view. Those already have been done by Chuck and by production companies when I had my deal with the show. They weren't 100% what I wanted them to look like, but they were enough to go by. And so I was able to scan them in, use them, and then just tweak them a little bit. And once I got the hang of that, I was able to execute more and more and more and get the hang of it and just kind of use that and actually even reuse certain pants. I reused pants a lot because it took too long. I have over 200 characters. I couldn't draw like every single one with like 200 pairs of pants. Some of them I would just draw them and make them smaller and, things like that. So, it was an enormously long, arduous kind of thing, but it was pretty cool. I wanted to tell you about my third show because you had asked me and we kind of sidetracked a little bit. My third show is going to launch hopefully at the end of the year or the beginning of 2014. It's called The Danger Squad. It's totally different. It's not hip-hop oriented. It's about 3 middle-aged losers who do black ops for the CIA, and Eric Andre, who's on Adult Swim right now. He has a show, and he's kind of an alt comedian. He's the star of the show. And I also have 2 other shows.
Look at you with all these shows.
I know.
Don't you ever think like just to focus on one?
I'm like Aaron Spelling, but with stuff that makes no money.
And it's all animation? Did you ever want? I mean, do you want to try it ever?
I do. I really would like to do like bit comedy and stuff like that. I'm really interested in doing that. And I actually have a couple of things in the works where I'm doing some stuff like that. But YouTube is kind of like a place where you just throw something up and see if it,
I mean, that's the guys from Workaholics. They started like these little things on YouTube and internet, and then all of a sudden they get picked up by Comedy Central to do Workaholics.
That's right. And so it's just kind of throwing stuff, see what works, see what doesn't work. And so I actually have 2 variations of Chilltown. One of them is the relaunch, which is it's very different than Chilltown the way it is now. And then I'm also doing another variation on the Lele show, which is also very different. And I also do have some bit comedy stuff. One of the shows that I had actually done is a pilot where Richie Bulldog was in it, Dante was in it, and actually another guy who's in the show, a guy named Gil T, who's a really, really funny old school comedian. He was in it. They were in this original pilot. I'm kind of taking elements of that, which are all live action, and I'm actually going to be filming that at some point. I'm doing the Lele show. It's so hard to kind of do animation production and be promoting at the same time. So I'm doing like 80 hours a week normally. So it's hard to kind of think of the time that I would have to do it, but I'm going to force myself to do it, you know?
Were you, like, I know you've been tapped into the scene here in New York City for so long and grew up here.
Right.
Did you ever get into the whole, like, down in, like, the Lower East Side, like the Dark City independent film movement back in the early 80s and stuff?
No.
I know, like, Buscemi and all those guys, they all
Right.
got their start, like, doing all these quirky little independent films and
Right.
stuff, and it became, like, a huge
Right.
thing there.
Right.
That's how it all really got started.
No.
Well, thanks for getting us off track.
Thank you.
You know, I have a neighbor who is a DP, a cinematographer, and he works with Abel Ferrar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And so I guess he was
Who's
probably
that?
part of that. His name is Ken Kelch.
Abel Ferrar, who's that?
He did.
Back in the day when what he's talking about, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. He's done like very weird, dark movies. Of course, I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, something. Not Lieutenant. Was it the Bad Lieutenant?
Bad Lieutenant?
Was it the Bad
Yeah, I
Lieutenant?
think that's what it's
I think it was the Bad Lieutenant. Yeah.
That was with, who was in that?
He goes
I
full
think
frontal.
I think it was. I think it was.
You know what I'm talking about? Bad Lieutenant was
think-
what's his face? Harvey Keitel, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe
Yeah.
I don't know if it was. I don't know
I-
if it was
I think
Bad
it-
Lieutenant. Maybe it was.
And Harvey Keitel was a part of that entire movement in the early
And
80s.
then maybe that was.
That was a totally. I just remember that scene where he's like totally like. Just, that's like the worst scene for Harvey Keitel. Honestly, would you say that you're a persistent person?
Yes.
Because you've been going at it for
You
so
have to
long.
be.
You have to be, right?
Yeah, you have to be.
Would you say persistence is like the key to success? Really?
No.
No?
Everybody will tell you that. Maybe I don't know.
What do you think is
I think knowing the right people is the key to success.
knowing the right people?
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, persistence. Ultimately, people who stay in it ultimately succeed. But that's taking the long road.
It's all about networking. Who
Right.
you meet, who you know,
Right,
in the right place,
exactly.
right time. I mean, really, a lot of it comes
That's
down
it.
to that.
So you know a lot of people.
No,
You're able to.
that's why I'm taking the long road. That's why I'm taking the long.
That's why she's got 5
persistent
different shows.
That's right. I'm hoping one of my shows will hit the right person in the head, and they'll be, "What was that?"
Yeah. What do you do to network yourself though? Like go to like any meetings?
I do. I mean, I go to. I mean, I'm just starting to do that, and it's really difficult for me to do because I'm working so much. So it's hard for me to get out and do that. I'm part of a number of meetup groups and try and do that. I spend a lot of time online, just reaching out to people. I handwrite people letters. You know, that's how I met you.
Handwrite?
Yes, with a quill pen.
It's a little bit more personable.
And
It's
a
little
brass
more-
wax seal.
Exactly, and I spray perfume on them.
Really?
hope they will translate over the internet, which is so cold and uninviting.
So what's next for Chilltown?
I've just launched an episode, actually yesterday. So that's the very
How many
next thing.
episodes are there?
There are 9 episodes in season 1, and so this is episode 6. And so we launch one a month, roughly. So this is a really funny one. It's dedicated to comedians.
It's somewhat linear. You're writing like it. When I was watching it, it went from one story right to the next. The second one picked
Right.
up, and it just
Right.
kept on going.
I actually use Seinfeld as a model, where there always are kind of 2 stories. There's a main story, and then there's a second story. And they always have something to do with one another on some level. There's always something that's connected. And Seinfeld always did that, and I thought it was a really neat trick, to have. And so that's what I do.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and Chilltown's obviously about Jersey City. Well, based in Jersey City. There's an art school over there that does screenings and stuff all the time that I used to work for.
Oh, really?
And I would totally
I'd
get you
love
over there
to.
to screen something. I
I'd
could
love
definitely
to.
get a good crowd over there.
I'd love to. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
That would be
definitely. I was just
awesome.
thinking about that. You know Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. I just did a radio show with some guy who's got a podcast in Chilltown, and he had me on the show because of the name of the show.
Oh, well, we'll definitely get that set up.
Okay, I'd love to. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
See?
There you go.
There we go. Networking. See.
Networking. I will say this, which a lot of people don't know, and I must say this is my disclaimer. It's not even a disclaimer, but it's a word of warning. There are a bunch of Hawaiian DJs who call themselves Chilltown.
Oh, really? Those bastards.
They're bastards.
Right?
They're bastards, and they
Fuck
register.
them.
They're fuck them.
Fuck
And they-
them, those scumbag
fuck them.
motherfuckers.
And so,
Nobody cares about Hawaii.
and so,
Yeah, no shit. Nobody
and
cares
so-
about Hawaii.
And so they register.
Why do you call it, like, what else do they call it? Jersey City. is it?
Jersey shitty.
Is it Brick? No, Bricktown. That's
Newark.
Newark, right? That's it. That's the only name for
Sound
it.
effects.
Yeah.
So,
Or you could always move it somewhere else and then call it, because it would apply anywhere,
call it
any
not
urban.
Chilltown. No longer Chilltown.
I mean, any urban area.
No longer Chilltown. Used to be Chilltown.
Fuck the Hawaiian DJs. Yeah, you
No,
gotta
Hawaiian
keep
DJs,
Chilltown.
their name is Chilltown, and so a lot of people who search for my show on YouTube say, we went to look for your show, but we found some Hawaiian DJs. So you have to put, that's why I changed it to Chilltown TV. Chilltown TV, that's important. So if you look for it, everything is Chilltown TV, chilltowntv.com. Because otherwise, you know, if you have a bar mitzvah coming up or a wedding and you need a Hawaiian DJ, the kind of DJs they are. They're not like hip-hop DJs. They're like, playing, the theme from Exodus kind of DJ. Tie a yellow ribbon around the, whatever, I don't know what they play at those kind of things.
Quinceañeras and bar mitzvahs, that's their main thing. Hawaiian DJs.
Exactly.
There was one thing, though, that kind of resonated with me when I was researching some of your stuff, and I saw when you wrote some kind of blog post and you were talking about your journey, and you're saying,
yes.
So there I was, no representation. My manager agent had left the business.
Right, yeah. Not
No
because
job.
of me necessarily, but I guess it was. No, it wasn't.
No job, nada. Yet I had the unswerving conviction, based on essentially nothing,
Right.
that people would like Chilltown.
Right.
I just thought that was really awesome.
Thank you.
And that's what it's all about, right?
That's exactly what it's about.
In my opinion, it's persistence, but you can say whatever.
It is. No, it is. It is. It is.
It's a part of it, yeah.
It is. I mean, you have to kind of, it's like being in love. You fall in love with somebody, you're blinded by them. They can do no wrong, at least, until you get to know them.
Yeah.
And so,
That's right.
And that's the way it is when you do a show. I mean, I think for most people, all I saw was that I so believed in this. I believed in it so much, and it was the thing that compelled me to do it. I felt like inside my entire being that people would like it, and so far I'm getting a great response. I started out having a very small fan base on social media, and so I didn't realize that you really need to have a pretty big fan base. And so I started out with like 80 friends who would update my Facebook page like once every 7 months, and I just wasn't into it. And now, of course, that's pretty much the name of the game, is having a big
have a lot of likes and everything like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Have a whole bunch of views.
Exactly.
It's a currency.
Yeah,
now.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's the new economy.
It sucks.
No, it's all right. Come on.
Yeah, well, yeah.
What, you fear change? I mean, everything's like that at some
it's
point.
true.
We're just figuring it out right now.
Yeah, we are figuring it out. There's something actually that's pretty exciting about being in the mix of that, because I'm doing something we're all kind of like living in this age where things are transforming so rapidly, and just putting out a show in this kind of environment is an incredibly thrilling experience to do. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
So what did we learn here today, Leesa Dean?
I don't
Let's
know.
try to sum it up a little
That
bit.
she has a fucking crazy neighbor.
I do.
That's right.
That's it.
No, she has a crazy neighbor who
I
plays
do.
the same thing over and over again. Wow.
Over
And it
and
won't
over.
shut the fuck up
And
when you're
won't
trying to do something important.
I've written her very nice notes, and
Yeah. Oh, you like to write nice notes in handwriting?
I did. I wrote her
With a
very
quill
nice note.
pen and you send it out?
A bread and butter, not thank you note.
You have some interesting.
Please shut the fuck up. Would you mind?
You have some very interesting people that are involved in your work, right?
Yes.
Some comedian people.
Yes, very
Gentleman who's
interesting.
tattooed from head to toe.
Yes, exactly.
Although you've not seen him naked.
No, I have not seen him naked. No, I haven't. I'm just, taking a wild guess. So,
So everybody who wants to find out about you and they want to watch the show Chilltown and
not be involved with any Hawaiian DJs.
right.
Yeah, just go to chilltowntv.com. Go to YouTube at youtube.com/ChilltownTV. Go to Facebook at facebook.com/ChilltownTV. On Twitter at ChilltownTV. And read my blog. I have a brand new blog called Adventures of a Web Series Newbie, where I basically cry my eyes out about all the awful things that are going on, and talk about some cool things too. And that's at Chilltown TV at WordPress.
Leesa Dean, thank you so much for being on the Bobby Pickles podcast.
Thank you so much for
I
having me.
really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had a great time.
For the Bobby Pickles podcast at the Hungarian Pastry Shop, I'm Bobby Pickles.
FatEnzo.com, 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 FatEnzo.com. Enzo.com. That's Enzo.com. That's Enzo.com. That's Enzo.com.